Over the last few days, G20 finance ministers have been meeting in Venice, and Italy holds the rotating presidency of the G20 at the moment in its selection of Venice as the host city for these talks. No accident. Venice is particularly threatened by the effects of climate change, threatened by the effects of rising floodwaters. And we did see those talks taking place on Sunday between finance ministers and also climate ministers. They made some progress in their discussions on Friday and Saturday because their discussions about the economy interlinked with their discussions about how to deal with the climate emergency. And in the communique they released during the weekend, they said that the idea of carbon pricing is now going to be one tool suggested by the G20 of how to deal with the climate emergency and how to particularly reduce greenhouse gas emissions, either through a carbon pricing tax or through a carbon pricing cap on the largest emitters, which would have to pay for the capacity from lower emitters. They moved on to those discussions on Sunday about a coordinated action plan because it has been 6 years since the international climate agreement was signed in this city, and many activists calling for demonstrations that there has actually been action taken. So these climate ministers that were meeting along with the finance ministers, some big names speaking up. Janet Yellen saying that the US's landscape has changed now. That's a reference to the fact that Donald Trump and the Republicans are no longer in the White House and no longer blocking or pulling out of international agreements. She said that Joe Biden much more favourable to dealing with the climate emergency. She said that the US is going to be increasing its climate finance to developing nations because she said that the emerging economies of the world are particularly vulnerable to the effects of climate change. We also heard from the head of the IMF. She said that the world's performance so far has been miserable when trying to deal with the effects of the climate emergency. And we heard from the head of the World Bank, David Malpass. Now, he was saying that there should be an action plan for 2021 to 2025 put in place, and particularly what should come from the G20 is demonstration to the global south, the developing nations in Latin America, in Africa, in Southeast Asia, demonstrations from the G20 of how to put into action 3 key examples that should be demonstrated, which are reducing greenhouse gas emissions, increasing the use of renewable energy, increasing how much renewable energy makes up of a nation's energy mix, and also demonstrating how to promote a green recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. Ross Cullen, CGTN in Paris.